Good afternoon guys. So today I want to do a long-term review on the motor that I built. So it's been close to 12 months of use on this little motor, and I've encountered a few little things that I want you to know and how I fixed them. So this motor was built to be used in Ross River to chase barramundi, and that's all I've been doing out of this kayak. It's just chasing barramundi flat out, non-stop, using this little motor. And this thing has proven extremely reliable. I have encountered a few problems, but I've also found a way to fix those problems. I've written a list in my notes of the things that have gone wrong just so I could make this video over this whole period of time. So yeah, I'll start telling you what's gone wrong and how I fixed it and how to overcome it. Okay, so we're going to start off with the ESC itself. So it is the Hobbywing 880 ESC controlling this whole motor. Intermittently on cold starts, I would call it. When you put the kayak in the water, turn on the motor, and if you hold the throttle 100%, after maybe a couple of seconds, the motor will drop down to half power. So what that means is before you actually launch the kayak and launch the motor and actually go use it, you have to put it in the water, hold the throttle for at 100% for like 5 to 7 seconds, and if the motor drops down and cuts out to half power, you have to just do a cycle. So cycle it on and off, and just keep doing it until the motor stays at 100%. Okay, drop down to half power. So you got to turn it off, turn it back on. Connected now. See how it drops down? You can kind of see it there. So you just got to do that a few times and it'll get full power. There we go. I got full power. So I don't know why it does it. It bugs me that I don't know why it does it. I wish I knew, but I think it's got something to do with the ESC possibly freaking out that it's drawing so many amps, as in the ESC is drawing 20 amps straight up. So I don't think it likes that. I think it's maybe like a cold start thing. That's how I understand it. I could be completely wrong, but that's what makes sense in my head. But then again, I also don't know why it's doing it. It could be something completely different. But if it does it, and when it does it, just cycle it on and off until it doesn't do it. So it can take up to 5 goes before the ESC works properly, and when it does, it won't fail again. It will consistently work once it's done. Also, I don't know how it will go. Like if you power it off for maybe a couple of hours and then power it back on, you might want to recheck it, because yeah, it may have cooled down again. So just be aware that if you like stop and turn the kayak off and turn the motor off for an hour and go have lunch and then come back, just check it's working properly. But yeah, so it only drawing half power on cold starts is probably the biggest problem I think it has. If I'm being honest, the most important problem is that you got to be aware. So like before you go showing off and showing your mates that you have a remote control kayak, just make sure that it's working properly and giving 100% power. You can also see, so the motor draws 20 amps. All right, the ESC draws 20 amps. So I have a little battery monitor sensor on my kayak that tells me my current draw. So you can see it'll go from 20 amps and then drop down to 10, and that's how. That's another way you can actually see if it's not working, but obviously you'll just feel it reduce power. And yeah, my fix is to just cycle it on and off a few times and until it works, and it always works. It will always work, and that's over a year's worth of use, nearly that is nearly a year's worth of use, and it's always consistently fixed after that. Another thing you might notice is the red and blue bottom block. Okay, so we had that black block, and I broke it. Okay, so can you see how it's now protruding out? It was originally really flat. It was flush with this edge here, and it was a really thin piece here on the servo. So that eventually broke, and the servo partially popped out, and I lost steering. Luckily I had my paddle. I was able to paddle to shore, but yeah, it broke and I had to paddle to the shore. Yeah, it was obviously going to happen because that part was really thin. Zach and I have now redesigned it and made it come out and made that little section where the servo goes a lot thicker, so it won't happen. I don't know if you can see or not, but you can see the wear marks there. That is because with the tolerances that we have to give it a slight little file to make everything fit that little bit better. I would rather file it than have it too big, if that makes sense. Yeah, so now that can't happen again. That won't happen again. But also, in saying that, because that happened, and then after we made this new block, I didn't file that section out because I was in a rush. I wanted to go fishing that night. I didn't file it out, and I put the servo in, but not all the way. In doing so, the servo, the top gear was sitting too high and on an angle compared to the rear gear, and that added a lot of stress internally of the servo, which caused it to break. That servo wouldn't have broke if I did it properly to begin with, but because I was in a rush, I did that and it caused it to break. Yeah, I filed it out and got the top gear to seat correctly and level with the back gear. And yeah, now that is running smooth. Another thing that is very important that you should know, so if you're anchored up, you've got your motor turned on, you've got your remote turned on, and you're not using it because you're fishing, after about, I would say, I haven't timed it, but I would say roughly 5 to 10 minutes, the connection will drop between the motor and the remote, and your motor will just launch forward. It will be scary as the first time, and the way you fix that is by always just giving the motor a little tap, like steering it left and right, or going forward and back just after every 5 minutes or so. Or while it's happening, while the motor is launching you forward, you have to turn your remote off and then turn it on. And in that period of time, of 4 seconds or whatever it is it takes to turn the motor back on, it can put you in trouble. It can launch you into a boat, it can launch you into a bank, it can launch you into a tree. So the way I'm going to fix it is by putting a kill switch into the kayak. So I don't have a kill switch in it yet. I know what to do when it happens, if it happens. But if it's your first time owning this motor or first time doing this, then you will panic, and it's quite scary because you've got no control of the kayak. Even if you are trying to steer it, it's got no control. You got to power the remote on and off, or have the switch to the ESC closer to you. I'm going to run a kill switch to the front of the kayak, so if I'm in a situation where I can't regain control quick enough, then I can just kill the motor. That's another thing that is quite important and quite scary for this build. Talking about the remote too, so the remote battery will last, I would say, 4 hours. I have a USB-A, so a slow charger. It's only like a 2.1 amp charger in the front there, and that runs to the front of my kayak, and then I run a long lead to charge a remote. It's 4 hours isn't really enough for me at times, especially if I'm going on a long fish at night. Like if I'm upstream or here for long hours a night, the remote will go flat before I'm finished fishing. So I need to run that charger to charge the remote. The remote has a little red indicator to tell you when it's charging, and it goes green when it's fully charged. And you can also tell by the voltage on the remote. So at full charge, I think it's like 4.1 volts. There's a little display here. There's a little display. So yeah, you can't really see on my little camera, but it says 4 volts up top there. And then when it gets to 3.7 volts, the remote will start beeping at you, letting you know that the battery's flat. So you just got to keep an eye on that. Another thing too that I want to mention is that beeping is caused by the little speaker in here, and then mine just so happens to have like a poor connection or something. So not long after I started using it, the speaker would work intermittently, and sometimes you could hear the clicks, sometimes you couldn't hear the beeps. And like when you adjust your channel 2 and channel 1, it used to beep, now it doesn't beep, so you don't really know where it is. But I'm sure if I pulled it apart and then soldered on the connections better, it would work. But it's just something to keep in mind. And also, it makes you keep an eye on the voltage. So when it gets to 3.8 or 3.7 volts, then you know you need to chuck the remote on charge because it's going flat. Because if it goes flat without you knowing and the speaker doesn't work, then you're gonna be in a rough situation. So yeah, you gotta make sure you keep a charger with you, or monitor that voltage. Also, I want to mention I do have a fast charger in the front of the kayak, but it doesn't work. You need a USB-A, and I think like a maximum output of 2.1 amps. You don't want to fast charge this little lithium battery inside the remote because it won't work and it's not good for the battery. And also, if you're kayak fishing, I've realized there is no rush to charge anything. I've got no rush to charge anything. I'm sitting down and everything's right there at my feet, and I don't need to rush to charge it because it can just sit on charge while I'm fishing. You guys can fish off here if you want. If you just want to have a go, you're right. So this motor, with my kayak fully loaded up, I can get 5 kilometers an hour with no wind. All right, so obviously going into the wind is slower, and then the wind behind you is faster, but on average 5 kilometers an hour. For the way I fish and how I fish, I don't need speed, but there are times where I wish I did have a bit more speed. So here's an example. So this is probably 500 meters away from my car. I forgot my lures one time, and I came all the way up, and I forgot my box of lures, and I needed a new hook, and I had to go all the way back to my car. And obviously at 5 kilometers an hour, it's not very fast, and that was a time where I wish I did have a bit more speed. But for fishing purposes, I don't need it. Like, there's no need for me to have speed, because I'm chasing barramundi, and once you find them, you can just kind of sit on them and just target the schools, or target the individual ones. So what I'm saying is, I guess there is times where I wish it was a bit faster, but I am grateful for what it is. Also, another thing, because this motor is small, it only draws a maximum of what, 20 amps, 20 to 22 amps. So 20 to 22 amps over a long period of time is going to get hot. So your connections, the motor, the ESC, where it joins into the fuse box, where at the fuse, just my whole little fuse block compartment in my kayak and at the joints, that's all going to get hot after a period of time. And with electronics, you do not want heat. You want it to be as cool as possible, because heat is going to kill it quicker. Okay, I've been using this for nearly a year. It hasn't failed, but I just know if I kept it going hot, if I kept it hot for a very long period of time, it'll fail a lot quicker. So yeah, 22 amps. So if you get a 44 pound, I think they draw up to 42 to 45 amps, and that's hot, man. Like, that's hot. You do not, me personally, I do not want that kind of heat over a period of time in a plastic kayak, because if something goes wrong, like, the chances of it going wrong are low, but if something did go wrong, there is potential to melt a hole through your kayak. I have a battery monitoring sensor, so that tells me my current draw, my battery percentage, how much current I have left, and what I'm using. Like, I can check temperature. So with the temperature probe, I have it on the negative terminal of my fuse block, because that is where I believe is the hottest point of my kayak. So I have it at so you can set it to a warning temp. So I have mine set to 44 degrees. There's no what's the word? There's no specification on how hot it can get, but me personally, 44 degrees is plenty hot. So I think I can get a kilometer into the wind before the alarm goes off. And it also really varies. When it does go off, I just stop for a minute, or not even a minute, and it drops down to 30 degrees really quick, like less than a minute. But it also varies in the fact that if I'm fishing in the middle of summer, in the sun, in the middle of the day, it's going to go off a lot quicker. The way I've set my temperature sensor up is inside the kayak. So if I've left my kayak on the top of my car in the sun, it's going to heat up the inside of the kayak and make it go off quicker. So I've had that happen once, and that's what, yeah, it kept going off. It went off heaps. But if I'm fishing like right now, like the way I've been doing for the last couple of hours, it hasn't gone off once. And right now, because I've been sitting, the temperature's at 22 degrees, and the ambient temperature right now is 24 degrees, but feels a lot hotter. So that battery monitoring sensor is extremely important. Like, if you want your electronics to last, you need to get one. It's only $80. Like, take the time to understand basic electrical and how to read a schematic, and it will make everything so safe. Like, I want this kayak to be extremely safe in my electronics. I want to know that I have peace of mind, that I can monitor everything. I'm a mechanic, and my job at work is diagnosis. I see why engineers have all these sensors in cars. It's to protect the car, and it's to protect you. So I'm trying to monitor. I've pretty much based this kayak off a car, if that makes sense. So my engine, and then the temperature sensor is my coolant temp. We got the gauge to measure power. It's just how my mind works. Like, it's just me wanting to know everything is going to be fine, and it's going to be reliable, and I can stop something from going wrong early. Anyway, I hope that all makes sense. My mind is very fast, and I feel like I think too fast before I speak, if that makes any sense. So I hope what I've just said all makes sense. And if it doesn't, just message me on my Instagram or Facebook if you have any more questions about it. But if you're going to go to the extent to have electronics on your kayak, buy a battery monitoring sensor, or a BMS. They call it all sorts of different things, but just get one, because it is a game changer. It is literally going to save you so much. It's also so important because it tells me my percentage of battery. Another thing. So I have once drowned this remote completely. I've fully submerged it, it was before the speaker was intermittently working, and it still worked. So that's it's good to know that I've drowned it once and it still works perfectly fine. The LCD display is fine, and yeah, it all works apart from the little speaker. Yeah, we've spoken about the kill switch. The reason being for the kill switch is if I'm fishing and it does drop connection and I'm going into someone's boat and I can't get connection quick enough, I can just quickly kill the motor. I could potentially run the switch to the ESC to the front, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of the kayak, the way I've got it set up, if that makes sense. Like, it's really neat back there, but it would be better up the front. But the way I'm going to do it is the harness that's running inside the kayak, I'm going to run a earth switch, so a kill switch on the earth side, possibly to a relay, and that way I can just quickly kill the motor. I'm also going to run another kill switch to kill everything. The kill switch should have been the first thing I made. Realistically, it should have been the first thing I did, but I didn't. I should have, but now I know where I'm going to put it. And yeah, another thing, so it doesn't have spot lock. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, I usually face myself into the wind or my back to the wind, and I can slightly adjust my position. Like I can maintain a position. It's not perfect, it's not spot lock, but it's very handy. It is good, but it also isn't good. But during really windy sessions, just anchor up, man. Like, you can't, I've been in some really hectic windy sessions, and it doesn't work. I spend too much time trying to adjust myself, and then I lose the fish, and then it's rough. So just bring an anchor, and that's what I do. I keep an anchor behind my seat. The little white LED on the back too is very handy. So if you see some of my videos, I do a lot of nighttime fishing up in the top section with boats. Yeah, if the boats are behind me, I'll just flick the little white LED on, and yeah, you should be able to see me. I've asked my mates in the water before, and they can see me quite fine. And the little fan's really good, because I have a session where I was fishing in the rain, and I did say when I was building it that I wanted to be able to turn the fan on and off with the switch, just in case I'm fishing in the rain. And literally on that session, I didn't go very far, and I wasn't pushing the motor because I turned the fan off, so I could fish in the rain, so I wasn't blowing water all over the electronics. So those little switches in that motor head are extremely handy. You can't run much current through them, so much amperage through them, because they're not designed to, but they're very handy, and they haven't let me down. And yeah, the motor's been through water. It's had water going through it from the rain, because I have forgotten to also turn the fan off during like small showers, and everything's fine. I recently pulled the top of the motor apart, and it looks exactly the same as how I built it. So there's no damage, there's no corrosion, there's no melting connectors, there's no open wires, there's no shorts, there's none of that. It's honestly, it's perfect to me. It's perfect for what I do. I forgot another very important piece of information that you need to know is that I've only blown one fuse, and it wasn't even me who blew it. It was my little brother. So he went into some thick weeds, had it in reversed, and popped the fuse. So it's good to know that the circuits are all working fine, the fuses are working fine, and everything's working. So yeah, my little brother popped the fuse for me on accident, and that's good to know that that whole circuit is working as it should. Another thing I want to mention is, you see how many fishing videos that I have with my kayak? That's not even a quarter of the time I've spent actually testing this out. Like, I don't think you realize how much time I've actually put into this motor during the period of owning it. Like, there are big long sessions. I'm talking from 4 p.m. till 2 a.m. where I haven't gotten a bite, and I've been using the motor going up and down, up and down, up and down, up at the top section, and yeah, it hasn't failed me. So it's really been put to use. I've really put some time into it, and if I'm being honest, it's extremely reliable now. So another thing that I forgot to mention with this motor, there's no way to easily and quickly retract the motor. Okay, so you can do this, you can loosen this bottom clamp can loosen the bottom clamp, let that sit down, lift the motor up, and then push it, and then pull it back down, and you can like tilt it up like that. All right, that's okay for like transport if you want, but I just find it easier to put the motor on when I need it. I've never been in a position where I've needed to retract the motor, but I'm sure there is guys out there who it is a must-have for. Personally, not for me. I don't really need it. I've gotten by without it, and yeah, it's just something to keep in mind that, yeah, this motor does not retract easily. Yeah guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. I really hope you liked the video. If you could please give the video a like. This is probably one of my most in-depth videos on my motor. And if you want to see more videos on this motor, or me talking about it or using it or anything like that, just comment them below and let me know. Or if you got any more questions, comment them or message me on my Instagram or Facebook page. I think this is the best thing that I've ever built. One of the best things I've ever built. If you like what you see and what you've heard and are happy to accept that it does have some flaws and that you have to work around, the motors will be made to order. So if you really want one and you do not have the skills to do it, I can make it and I can ship it to you. Just message me on Instagram first. That's only in Australia too. We'll have to have a proper decent conversation on how you want it set up and how you're going to use it, because yeah, there's two modes. There's AGM and lithium. And before I ship it out to you, or while I'm building it, I'll have to know what battery you're going to use so I can tune it to that. And you'll have to continue using that unless you buy your own programming card and program it yourself.